has his eye on all of them. Kenny, we've got Wall Street watching the U.S.-China trade talks. Apple, obviously the situation in Los Angeles, what the president's talking about, which could be a huge boon to the S&P. We've also got an important slew of econo data this week, namely May consumer inflation out Wednesday, the CPI, followed by the PPI, producer price index for wholesale inflation. Friday, UMich consumer sentiment for June. None of it seems to worry investors. The S&P very close to a record. What do you think's driving all of this?
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be worrying investors. And I think it's, to your point, I think it's a bunch of things. I think it's excitement over potentially what's happening in London. Now, look, no one's going to expect a trade deal to happen this week or even next week or even a month from now because they take a while to create, sometimes months, if not even a year. And so I think what the market just wants to know is that they're actually moving in the right direction. That's number one. Number two, I don't think the market's expecting CPI or PPI to be an issue at all. While it might tick about 0.1% higher, you have to understand that oil is up 17% off the April lows, so that's probably part of why we'll see that up. I think the rest of the inflation story is going to be one of muted inflation, which will be a positive. I think that's also helping the market.
Okay.
I think the chaos in California, is a different issue. I don't think the market's paying attention. Although it's horrible, I don't think the market's paying attention to the chaos in California.
Well, right. They might if it gets a little bit worse. Let's hope not. We're going to take our viewers live to the ground. But I think you're right. I think the trading situation could be beneficial. Again, they're not talking tariffs specifically with the China trade representatives. That's not the issue. And you can see the VIX is calming down even more today. It's now below 17. That's a good sign, considering it started to pick up last week. But I get the sense, though, that as people watch, they're still looking at the tech industry. Got a bunch of tech CEOs live at the White House right now. Plus, you've got tech stocks showing renewed interest here, and not to mention the fact that I'm looking at NVIDIA here. NVIDIA is up about 0.75% at the moment, had been a bit higher earlier, but the chip stocks could be open to a nicer move if there's something struck in London with the Chinese, correct?
Right, 100%. And so you're seeing that. That's what the market is telling you. The market wants to see something. The market is expecting to see something. And so therefore, the stocks will move ahead of that news, right? Because it's the expectation of what it wants, but really what the economy and what the market needs. They need some good news coming out of those trade talks for sure.
Kenny, what do you like here? What looks really attractive at the moment that hasn't been too high value? Because the market valuations are still pretty rich.
Yeah, look, and there's a bunch of sectors that are outperforming the market. Just of the 11 sectors, industrials are up 10% when the market's only up 2%, right? The S&P's up 2, but the industrials up 10. Energy's up. Financials are up, all outpacing the S&P. So what I like are some of the sectors that aren't necessarily outpacing as much. I like healthcare, which is negative on the year. Mm-hmm. So I like healthcare as an opportunity to put some money away. I still like consumer staples, and I know it's a defensive play, but I do think that the market's feeling a little bit frothier. So if it pulls back, I want to put some money into consumer staples just to kind of help balance out the portfolio. You can't argue with tech. You can't argue with names like CrowdStrike or NVIDIA because they're always going to be part of this AI story going forward. And the other one I like is aerospace and defense. Right? I think there's a real place in terms for investors to put money away into aerospace and defense when you talk about the Golden Dome and what that means and what that means for those defense contractors.
Boeing, obviously not part of the Golden Dome, at least not that we know of. But at the moment, aerospace up 3.5% here. So maybe those Boeing problems, although we've said this 50,000 times over the past couple of years, maybe Boeing's problems are behind it. But Northrop Grumman, up 0.5%, they have told me exclusively, they have said they are part of the Golden Dome project. It appears to be something that is very real. The president wants it. It would be the anti-missile defense system for the United States. Right. Lockheed Martin, everybody's up just fractionally, nothing too big, although Textron is up more than 2%. Kenny, when you look at the bond market, we can't ignore that because last week it started to look a little squirrely once again. We saw the market close when it came last Friday. The 10-year closed at 4.5%. At the moment, we can see that we've got the 10-year yield at 4.48%. So when you see yields come down, that's interesting, even though the Fed, 99% odds that they will not move at next week's meeting. They will remain paused.
They are not moving at next week's meeting. Anyone who tells you that they're moving, they need their heads examined. Jay Powell is not moving, not next week. I don't think he's moving all year. I have to be honest with you. I'm in the camp that he's going to stay right where he is. But yes, I think you have to, we've been talking about bonds. I actually think bonds are going to settle in somewhere between 4.5 and 4.75%. And I think if the economy is strong then we're okay, that the market can function okay with 10-year yields. It'll have to get used to it. Trust me, it might be a little bit antsy getting there, but I think if the economy is strong, then I think that's okay. The market can function with 4.5 to 4.75% rates on the 10-year.
Well, let's hope so. The market's functioning just fine lately. We're less than 2.5% away from the S&P all-time record. Kenny, great to see you. Thank you so much. Dow right now up 92 points.